Shalom. Before I start, I want to give all honors and glories and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash, Yahweh, which is the one true name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and true name is Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, meaning coming in the name. Ba means coming in, Ha means the, Shah means the name, Rakah meaning spirit, Kodash meaning holy. Peace, blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect, and shalom to you sincere brothers that are scattered abroad, pushing forth this word in truth and sincerity. And shalom to you sincere sisters that are listening in silence, as the scriptures command you to do so. I am the brother Mashiach Arazakah from the Prophets of Good Works camp of Las Vegas, Nevada. And double honors to the elect of the house of David. And we're going to go into doing the works, okay? Doing the works, okay? And we're going to go into I'm going to Colossians, so like in chapter 1. And we're going to go into what Apostle Paul, what he did. He was preaching the gospel, and he was abounding in the work of the Lord, okay? He was doing, handling the Lord's business, right? And following the instructions given of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Okay, and in this present time that we're living in now, we are to do the same thing. This is why you are called into this truth. For those of you that's new in this truth, if you're an Israelite man, a so-called Negro, Hispanic, Native American Indian, you are to grow in this truth so you can preach and teach the gospel, to work out your own salvation, to be of the elect. Okay, that's your whole purpose in this ministry, is to fish for the elect, and hope and pray that you are of that number to be delivered, to be beamed up. And this is what we are fighting for individually. Okay, this truth is a spiritual warfare between yourself. Okay, striving to make it to the end. You gotta endure through all these hardships and afflictions and turmoils, right? And afflictions and temptations, but every day and every hour and every second and every moment is a test. Okay, the closer we are in this thing to the end, the more these afflictions and turmoils will occur. But just know that this is all to try you in your faith, to build you up, because the Lord, he called you into this thing. So even though you're called into this thing, you got to be able to endure the hardships and afflictions that come with it. So hopefully this is edifying. This is Colossians 1 and 25. All right, it says, whereof I am made a minister according to the dispensation of the Most High, which is given to me to you. And what does dispensation means? Okay, that word dispensation goes into the meaning of, dispensation refers to the act of disputing a specific system or ordering, or often divine or political, or an exemption from a rule or a vote. See, so it's pretty much an order, okay? An order, or someone that is, over you, right? A person to manage you, right? Someone that's over you to guide you, right? And it says the method or scheme according to which the Most High carries out his purpose towards men is called a dispensation. There are usually reckoned three dispensations: the patriarchal, the Mosaic, or Israelite, or anointed, right? Because that word Christian means anointed, okay, which goes back to Mashiachim, which we are called, okay, because we are the anointed ones. That's what a Christian means. The word Christian means anointed ones, okay? And we're the anointed ones. We are the Mashiachim, okay? So Paul, he handled the business of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, okay? He was all about the Lord's business. That's why it says, whereof I am made a minister according to the dispensation of the Most High, which is given to me for you to fulfill the word of the Most High. And that's what he was about. He was all about the Lord's business. So Apostle Paul, he was made a minister. Now, when you go into the meaning of that word minister there, it goes into G1249, which is diakonos or diakonios.
Strong's G 1249. Diakonos. Diakonos.
Salakia. Diakonos, right? Diakonos, right? Which means one who executes the commands of another, right? Of a master, a servant, attendant, a minister, the servant of a king, right? It says a deacon it says one who by virtue of an office assigned to him by the church, because the church is the body. It's not talking about an actual church. This is meaning the body, right? Carries for the poor and has charge of disputes the money collected for the use. We got different meanings. It says a waiter, one who serves food and drink. But a minister is pretty much a person that is a teacher or a pastor. You see that? It says specifically a Christian, which is an anointed teacher or pastor. That's what a minister is, okay? One who teaches, right? And that's what Apostle Paul was. He was a teacher, right? He was a prophet, right? And when we go into the etymology of it, it goes into G 1377, right?
Strong's G 1377. Dioko. Dioko.
Dioko, to make, to run or flee, but to flight, drive away, to run swiftly in order to catch a person or thing, to run after, to press on, figuratively on one who is a race, run swiftly to reach goals, to pursue. It says in any way whatsoever, to harass, trouble, molest one, persecute. It says to be mistreated, suffer persecution, an account of something, right? It says without the idea of hostility, to run after, follow after someone, metaphor to pursue, salakia, to seek after, eagerly, honestly, and devour or acquire. Okay. So going back, that word minister goes into G 1249, which is
Strong's G 1249. Diakonos. Diakonos.
just, which actually means a teacher and pastor. That's the correct meaning. Okay. I just wanted to go into the etymology to see how deeper it can go. But you'll get so many different meanings. But the actual meaning is right here. A minister is a teacher, or should I say a pastor? All right, a teacher. And that's what the men of the Lord are, right? They teaching the gospel, preaching the word, right? Should be teaching. That's what we all are required to do. Colossians 1 and 25, whereof I am made a minister according to the dispensation of the Most High, which is given to me for you to fulfill the word of the Most High. You see that? Apostle Paul, he was a minister, okay? He was pretty much fishing for the elect then, right? He was fishing for the lost sheep, right? He was assigned to the Gentiles, which were the Israelite foreigners that were scattered, right? Because Apostle Paul had a gift. He could speak many different languages. He was that Hellenized Israelite as well, right? He was a Roman citizen, right? He was born in the city of Tarshish, which is the land which is called today is Turkey, but in the ancient world, which was titled as Asia Minor. He was born in the city of Tarshish. He was a Roman citizen, okay? So he could speak Greek, Hebrew. He knew many different languages. That's why he was able to go to those Gentiles, which were those Israelite foreigners, and to be a minister to preach the gospel. Because you had Israelites of the flesh, they weren't in their heritage. They wasn't speaking Hebrew. They were speaking other languages. You see that? And that's why scriptures say, whereof I am made a minister according to the dispensation of the Most High, which is given to me for you to fulfill the word of the Most High. Because his job was to get the gospel across, right, to the Israelite foreigners. That's why he went to the city of Corinth. He went to Ephesus. He went to Galatia, right? He went to all of those regions. Thessalonica, that was a place, right? He even went to Crete, where the Cretians was at, right? The city of Crete. Those were Israelites there, which the city of Crete, that's in Greece. Okay, so you had Israelites that were scattered, and Apostle Paul, his mission was to go and fish for those Israelite foreigners over there. It says, whereof I am made a minister according to the dispensation of the Most High, which is given to me for you to fulfill the word of the Most High. And that was his purpose as a man of the Lord. Let's skip down to verse 28. It says, whom we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom. You see that? That we may prevent every man perfect in Yahushua. See? So it says, whom we preach, warning every man. And that's who's doing that right now, the prophets, right? We're out there giving out the warning. We're fishing for the elect, right? We're trying to gain and get all our people in this truth, right? Those, we're mainly fishing for the elect, right? That's why the scriptures say there's nothing new under the sun. The same thing that we're doing right now on the highways and edges, the prophets was doing the same thing in their time. They were fishing for, because not all Israel got the truth. Even in the time of Apostle Paul, you had a lot of Israelites. You had the wicked scribes and Pharisees. They're supposed to be in the truth, but they were hypocrites, as Yahushua said, because even though they were going by the laws and trying to judge and persecute other Israelites off the laws, they weren't keeping them. They were following the ways of the Greeks. That's why Yahushua called them hypocrites, because they were persecuting Israelites off the laws, but they weren't even keeping them. Okay? But it says, whom we preach, warning every man. And that's what we're doing right now as prophets, as the modern day prophets, right? We're giving warning to every man, teaching every man in all wisdom, right? Which is this gospel, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. That's that Holy Spirit there. Going to Proverbs 1:7, right? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. So to every man in all wisdom. And how you getting that wisdom? Right? This Holy Spirit, these holy scriptures. Okay? It says that we may present every man perfect in Yahushua HaMashiach. Verse 29, whereunto I also labor. How does he labor? By preaching the gospel. That's how Apostle Paul is laboring. Striving according to his working, which worketh in me mightily. See, so Apostle Paul, he was about the Lord's business. He wasn't about his own business. He was about the Lord's business. All right. This is 2 Timothy 2 and verse 4. Verse 2. So like 2 Timothy 4:2. Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. You see that we're preaching the gospel. And that's what Apostle Paul was doing, right? It just said him preaching the gospel, right? It literally said right here, it says, whom we preach, warning every man. So that's what Apostle Paul was doing. He was preaching the gospel. That's why we are required to preach the gospel, because the prophets of old, they did the same thing, right? Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. And that's our purpose of being in this truth. Okay, that's our purpose of being in this ministry as being men of the Lord. Okay, we're preaching the gospel. Okay, we're preaching the word. Okay, we're working out our own salvation, doing these videos and doing these lessons, as you see. So we are required to preach the gospel. We are required to feed the sheep, right? As the Lord instructed, as the Lord commanded, right? The Lord said, feed my sheep. Let's see if I can get it. All right, what the scriptures say. All right. Let's go there. This is John 21:16. And that's why we're prophets today. We're giving out the warning, right? And hold on, before I go there, let me go to Isaiah 58. It's Isaiah 58:1. Cry out loud and spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet and show my people their transgressions, right? And the house of David their sins. And that's what the Lord required us to do as prophets. That's why we're to preach the gospel. We're to tell the Israelites, who are people who don't know that they're Israelites, let them know who they are, who their power is, and what are their purposes on the earth, and what they should be doing. Okay, and ourselves also fit in that column as well. Okay, we can't just say what we're requiring other people what they should be doing and then we're not doing it. That would make us hypocrites. So this also applies to us, man. Okay, changing from our transgressions, repenting, and doing the will of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. Okay, that's what we should be doing while we're in this truth, while we're in this ministry. Okay, is preaching the gospel. Okay, cry out loud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of David their sins. So that's our purpose. That's what we should be doing. That's what we are to be doing. Okay, and that's what we need to be doing. Okay, and this is John 21:16. Now let's go there, because this is the point. St. John 21, and we'll start at verse 15. So this is what the Lord said unto Peter. Okay, because Peter told the Lord that he loved him, but the Lord told him 3 times that if he loved him, to feed his sheep. And that's why we do these videos. This is why we're doing lessons, and we're preaching and teaching the word in truth and sincerity. Right? Verse 15, it says, so then they had dined, Yahushua saith to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? It says, he saith unto him, yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, feed my lambs, right? Verse 16, he saith unto him again the second time, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He said unto him, yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, feed my sheep. Yeah, so you got to feed the Lord's sheep. That's what the Lord said unto Peter. He said to him twice. Verse 17, it says, he saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, thou lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he had said unto him the third time, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest that I love. Thou knowest, it says, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. And Yahushua said unto him, feed my sheep. So the Lord told him 3 times to feed his sheep. What do you mean by that? Doing the work. Okay? He's supposed to be doing the work. Romans 12:1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies as a living sacrifice. And that's why we go out to the highways and edges once a week. We put our bodies up as a living sacrifice in this truth for Yahweh Bashim Ashai, to prove and show ourselves worthy in the eyes of the Lord. Okay? And that's why going out to the highways and edges and preaching the gospel every week is important. Okay? Because that's showing your faith to the Lord. You're proving yourself to the Lord Yahweh Bashim Ashai. You're working out your salvation. It says, holy and acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. So there you go. We're supposed to put our bodies up as a living sacrifice for the Lord. Okay? We should be doing that. Preaching and teaching the gospel, okay, and showing ourselves worthy in the eyes of the Lord, doing the work, putting our bodies up as a living sacrifice. 2 Peter 1:10, it says, wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, ye shall never fall. How can you make your calling and election sure? With diligence, right? Doing videos, doing the work, preaching and teaching the gospel, man. We got to get a lesson in. We got to do that. We got to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. It's like it with fear and trembling, man. Okay, we got to show ourselves worthy in the eyes of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Okay, we should be doing that. And then we're going to go to Philippians 2:12 and wrap it up with this. It's Philippians 2:12, okay? And it says, wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with what? Fear and trembling. So you have to work out your own salvation in this ministry. No one in this truth can save you. Nobody can. You literally have to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. All right? No one can save you in this ministry, in this truth. So you should be getting what you can get into the best of your ability. So hopefully this was edifying. I want to give our honors and glories and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Wakakodash. Peace, blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect. And shalom to you, sincere brothers that are scattered abroad, pushing forth this word of truth and sincerity. I am the brother Mashiach Razakah, and hopefully this lesson was edifying. On to the next one. I say shalom. Shalom.